the stream proper. So let's get into the podcast. All right. 3, 2, 1. What's up, Internet? You're tuned into a very special episode of the PotsCast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined, as always, by my partner in Switch-related crimes, Mr. Stephen Radford.
Hello.
Hello, Stephen. Here we are, okay? It is the year of our Lord, 2021. It is February 17th, the last proper, real, juicy Nintendo Direct that we got was in September of 2019. It has been a long, cold winter, but we have made it through the other side, and we have gotten a proper Nintendo Direct. How do you feel about it?
Well, some said it wouldn't happen. You know, I saw many a video of people saying the Nintendo Directs are dead.
They're dead.
We're
They're
never
done.
gonna get them again. They don't need them. And then this happened, and the internet went insane about it.
And of course,
like 1 million viewers or something. Right?
And of course, you know, people in the know, smart people like us, said it was never going anywhere. It was always going to come back. But you know, I get it. I get the fear. But don't worry, we're back. It's been dealt with. So we got it. How do you feel about this now, man? Like, we got this Nintendo Direct, like you said, million people tuned in to watch it live, tons of hype going into it. Where are you at with it now that it's done? Like, how do you feel it ranks among Directs for you?
Feel like the first one out of the gate after 500 plus days, it was always going to be a case of they were never going to live up to anyone's expectations. I'm a little bit surprised we didn't get any Breath of the Wild news other than the fact that they're going to tell us more later this year.
It's coming.
It's like, okay then. But some of the announcements have got me really excited. Like, you know, early on, some of the announcements, and then that final announcement at the end. I was so happy about it.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, full spoilers, right? Like, I'm assuming if you were watching live right now, like a bunch of people in the chat are, you watched it live, so you know what was announced. If you're watching this later, I'm assuming you've seen it, so full spoilers.
Yeah.
Splatoon 3, right? Huge news. Of course, they said that this was only going to be related to games that were in the first half of 2021. And, of course, Splatoon 3 coming out in 2022, so they lied to us right out the gate. That's huge news, right? That's obviously really hype. I think that's easily the headline of the day, right? Like, we have a Xenoblade 2 character coming to Smash. That's hype for a certain, you know, segment of the audience. Yeah. Mario Golf is really cool. I'm excited about that. We got looks at some other exciting games, but Splatoon 3 is really... I think that was the caliber of announcement people were looking for from this.
It was, and I wonder why they chose to announce that now, when we've got a year of Zelda coming up. Presumably they're going to have more announcements. We've got a week till the Zelda 35th anniversary and the Pokemon 35th anniversary. And I know Pokemon companies doing their own celebrations. Yeah. It just feels like a strange time to me to announce a game that's coming next year. Usually for this kind of game, Nintendo's announced it 6 months before it's been released, traditionally with Splatoon. And to announce it at least a year ahead of time this time. I can only imagine there's a reason why they want to like drum up some hype.
Yeah.
Maybe there's going to be a new console coming out that's going to be aimed towards this game. Who knows?
My first thought was that maybe they're going to have a Splatfest sooner than later, and we'll get or not Splatfest, the Test Fire is what they called it. And maybe we'd get a couple of those this year. And that would kind
Possibly.
of be, you know.
And that could be related to the new infrastructure that we spoke about a couple of episodes ago. That, you know, Splatoon 2 had that Windows 98 check in the code base for their NEX online infrastructure. And then the new one that they're working on, MPLN or whatever it was called, presumably Splatoon 3 is going to be on that new system. So I think a test fire makes sense. But that was only last time, I think it was 2 months prior to release. So maybe we'll get one end of this year.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could kind of go either way. Like, if... I know, right? Because, like, I think that, to your point about why announce it now, if it is, like, far out, that it could just be that they wanted to have something big to show at the end, and they know that it's far enough away that they can safely put out a hype trailer that will get people excited, but that there's no real risk to talking about it right now because it is so far away. Whereas some of the other stuff, they might want to save that bullet in the chamber for a little bit closer to release. They might not be as certain about certain things. And like you mentioned, the Zelda thing, right? Like, say they do have other Zelda plans for this year. You don't want to like announce it all at once and kind of like tire people out with like, okay, it's a lot of Zelda news. Like, you get Skyward Sword, that's a pop, right? For some people, I guess. And for those who aren't, right? Like, if you do a Wind Waker reveal, if you do something else, that will have weight later.
I feel like I'm surprised that we got Skyward Sword and not the games that are already on Wii U. That they must have already ported to the Switch at this point.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, we've got an HD remaster of a game from the Wii, which we've known is coming for seemingly years at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's why, though. Right? Is that like those games did already come out on Wii U and they are less special. You know, like personally, I would be more excited by the news of the Wind Waker HD coming to Switch than this, but this has never had an HD re-release. It's never been re-released since it was on Wii. So I guess I could see the argument that this is a bigger pop and that maybe later when you do a direct that is specifically about Zelda's 35th anniversary, you can be like, and we're porting all these games that have come out on the last 2 generations, you know, and and you do it all at once. And it's like, yeah, like you liked HD of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. They're now available on Switch, and the 3DS, you know, stuff is coming to Switch. Like, you could probably bundle that news together and, you know, like
I liked the comparison and the bringing it back to Breath of the Wild, because like obviously they knew people were gutted. There was no Breath of the Wild 2 news.
Yeah.
And so like to loop it back in to go, oh, and if you've never played this game that I personally think looking at the visuals looks like garbage in 2021 is completely lacking of shadow. It just, the whole thing just looks like it's on one flat plane.
Yeah.
And there's no depth to it whatsoever. And I get that it's a Wii game, but look what they did to a GameCube game when they brought it to Wii U. Like, that was astonishing.
Yeah,
this looks mediocre to me.
I think that's fair.
But the stamina wheel and the cloth thing that he opened,
I didn't know that was in that game.
To do that, it was interesting to see how they made the stepping stones and putting things in place for Breath of the Wild, which I never knew about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is pretty cool. And I think you're right. That's a smart way to contextualize that game. Because if you're not aware, Skyward Sword didn't sell super well. Like, it sold like, I think it's like 7 million copies or something like that. And for the number of Wiis that there were, obviously that's not a great attachment rate for that software. And like, it came out near the end of the...
I think it was like a pretty expensive game because you had to buy that motion
plus
thing for it to even work. And it was like, well, why do I want to buy another peripheral to play a game that's only motion controls and I can't play like a traditional Zelda game?
Right.
It was a bit of a sell at that time.
Yeah. So I think the reason I bring that up is to say I think that there's probably an argument to be made that there's like a good contingency of Zelda fans that haven't played the game. Or that were like me and were turned off by the motion controls, but like might be willing to try it now the buttons are mapped and you can actually play it like a regular game. So that, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I just think it's wild to me at the moment that they've got the most popular Zelda game of all time combined with probably like the least popular 3D Zelda game of all time.
I think that's fair to say.
On the same platform. And it's like, where are the other ones? Like, why couldn't I buy, at this point, Ocarina of Time on your modern console? I could buy it on the 3DS handheld or on the Wii U or on the Wii, but you can't get it on the Switch. And to me, it's so strange that they're not willing to take people's money. And there's got to be a 3D collection coming. I mean, I'm keeping my fingers crossed at this point, but I really, really want some like older Zelda games to play and not this one because I didn't like the look of this one. But those Joy-Cons, though, what about those Joy-Cons?
Those are really good. I like those. Yeah, like I was a little disappointed with the Skyward Sword news. I won't lie. Like, my initial reaction was kind of like, okay, that's not what I was hoping for, but I get it. But those Joy-Cons are real fresh. I definitely want those. And I don't know, like, I'm like morbidly interested in playing this game. now. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Pixel seemed hyped for it when he was in the chat on the stream.
There are two extreme opinions about that game, and it's either that it sucks or that it's perfect and it's great. You know, like I remember, like IGN famously gave it a 10 out of 10, and people were very upset about that for years. So,
and people get so upset about ratings anyway.
Yeah.
It was like IGN gave the Super Mario 3D World like 1 point different or something this time compared to last time.
Yeah, and then people were like freaking out about it, even though like these are two reviews 8 years apart, and like probably none of the same people work there anymore. Like, you know, it's whatever. So I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, right? Like it's, you know, it's 50 minutes of stuff. We're not going to touch on everything. But I guess working our way backwards now, as we kind of are, right? Splatoon 3, obviously very cool. Skyward Sword, mixed bag. The other real big announcement that we both got a pop out of was that Mario Golf reveal. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I love golf games in general. I loved Golf Story when it came to Switch, like in the launch year. And I feel like this might fill that sports story hole that I'm looking for at the moment. And it seems like the kind of game that we need at the moment, just like a fun party game, not taking itself too seriously. You've got all those new modes, like the racing down the golf course, and it just looks goofy and fun, and what people want from a Mario sports game. But those games always seem to get the physics right. Like all Mario games seem to get the physics right, apart from that tennis one, Tennis Aces.
Yeah, Tennis Aces was a little off.
Wonky.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that game. I agree with you. The like kind of like competitive, like the racing and the power ups and all that stuff. Like that seems really fun, and that seems like kind of what I want out of a Mario sports title. Right? Is that like you want that kind of old school arcadey sports gameplay, like mixed with like goofy Mario stuff. So that feels like the right marriage of those things for me. And I'm definitely stoked about that. I hope it comes together. Like I'm wary because Aces wasn't really for me, but I like Mario Golf arguably more than tennis. I guess it depends. I really like Mario Tennis 64, but the other ones have not quite connected with me on that level. But I'm excited for it. I'm glad that they're at least trying to do more of the Mario sports stuff.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I was a little bit surprised about is the fact that they said it was about games that were already released a lot at the beginning. Like the pre-announcement that they made, it was like about Smash Bros. And other games that were already released, and also games coming in 2021.
Yeah.
And I can't think of many games that were released. Like, you got Hyrule Warriors.
Did they actually say games that were already released specifically?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because I mean, they announced the Hyrule Warriors DLC. They announced Fall Guys is already out. That's coming to Switch. Is that not what you think they meant?
Well, maybe that's what they meant. I mean, I don't know.
Because there was also like those two Famicom detective games that are coming to the West for the first time. Those are new, but not new.
That's interesting to me, because I'm glad that those are getting a release over here. I never thought they would.
I've never even heard of this series.
It was announced, I think, on the last Direct that they did in 2019.
Oh, okay.
Just in Japan. Like, you know when sometimes there's different games? Alongside that, Resident Evil Cloud Edition.
Okay.
And it was like, oh, they'll never come to the West anyway, because they've never been translated before, and they've never been brought over. So this would be the first time they have. I think, if I'm correct, they were games that were on the Famicom Disk System. And they've got like a bit of a cult following about it, the Famicom Detective Club, and then they brought them to the Switch, and now they're bringing them to the West. So, I think there's going to be some excitement about it. It kind of looked like, if you like the Ace Attorney series, that this might be the kind of thing for you. Yeah,
I saw a lot of people in our chat and then in the YouTube chat that Nintendo had going, like making Ace Attorney comments or whatever. You know, it's funny. You said the things that are already released, right? Like I have IGN's list of all the announcements. There's a lot of games that were, because right, I said Fall Guys, Outer Wilds, the Famicom Detective game, Samurai Warriors 5, Legend of Mana Remaster, Monster Hunter Rises isn't out, but we knew about that. Tales from the Borderlands, the Capcom Arcade Stadium, Stubbs the Zombie, No More Heroes. It's like a lot of these are games that already are out on other platforms.
They worded it as available games like Smash Bros. Ultimate and
Okay.
games coming to Nintendo Switch in the first half of 2021.
Interesting.
So maybe they did mean on other platforms. I don't know. But the way I would read it, if it was Nintendo writing it, would be games that we already have and know about.
Yeah.
Like, we got a DLC announced, and we got obviously the new character for Smash Bros. But
Yeah,
I can't think of anything else.
those are both like significant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. Like, I'm happy. It's just strange. Like they do that, and they could have just literally put up a Nintendo Direct. We're going to talk about some games, and people would have been happy enough. They don't have to like entice people in by putting Smash Bros in. People are gonna fucking come and watch it anyway.
I think they could have just said Smash Bros as like okay, here's an idea. Like this is gonna be a thing. But they also the other thing that was a thing for an already released game was the Mario items coming to Animal Crossing, which is
let's talk about those for a little bit.
I'm really stoked about those.
I'm really excited about those.
Yeah.
The number one thing I'm most excited about is the warp pipe and the fact that you can put them in multiple places around your island and warp from one place to another.
That's fucking huge.
It's insane.
Like that's a legitimate
like a whole course.
Yeah.
In a game, I think it would be so good.
Like that's a legitimate huge convenience factor in Animal Crossing. So I don't know. I'm really excited about that.
There's an event on Mario Day, and we're gonna have to talk to Chewie about this when he's on the show.
Yeah, when he's on Sunday.
And find out what he thinks of it all. But I'm very excited about the Mario stuff coming to Animal Crossing. My problem is I've been excited about all of the events they've announced. Like Sierra did a stream of Festival,
yeah,
and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably go and do that. And I was like, oh yeah, it's like 9:00 at night here. It's pretty much all over at this point.
Yeah,
I just never fucking remember these things.
I think
so. I really need to get better at Animal Crossing in that way.
I agree. This is one I think is probably a little easier because it's not like an event. It's just items that you can get. So like you just go and buy them. Like there's not really like, because that was where I got tripped up. Like the last event I tried to participate in was Halloween, and I missed a couple days of like logging in and getting my candy, and then I was just like, forget it. You know, I'll save it for next year.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like, I never did any of the Christmas stuff.
Me neither.
I couldn't figure out even how to make a snow boy. Like I tried so many times, and then the ball just disappeared when I put it on the path. I was like, oh, sod this.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at too, but I think this will be one that I'm a little bit easier to get into. And also, shout out to Doc, one of our Patreon supporters. He has been trying to get me to send him a list of villagers I want since like May, and I finally did. So he's sending me a bunch of QR codes so I can get whatever villagers I want and everything, which is pretty cool. So I'm torn between, do I just get back into it and start playing again regularly, or do I like try to re-roll my island, and like, is that the thing that gets me back in? I don't know.
I think that's the only thing that would get me back in. It's like I tried going back to Stardew Valley this week because they had that big 1.5 update. And I got there and I got to my farm and I was like, holy shit, what was I doing last?
Yeah.
You know, you get into that stage of like, it's so overwhelming.
Does that matter in Animal Crossing as much though?
Yeah, because I know I was actively doing stuff in Animal Crossing, and then you go around and you talk to villagers and they make you feel guilty. It's like, oh my God, it's been 6 months. I thought you weren't friends with me. And then they like, you know, fake you out and they're okay about it. Then you have like all the weeds you have to do, and there's cockroaches in your house. It's just such a daunting task to me to go and sort it all out that I'm just like, nah, I'll play something else instead.
I know.
That's the problem. That's how I always go. Whereas if I started again and I time travel through that first week to get all the shit that I want, so I don't have to listen to the same song over and over and over again for hours at a time, and then play the game as it's meant to be played again, then maybe I'll be happier about it. But I don't know though.
Like, I feel like I might be mad about that then too, because I'm like, oh, I had all this stuff and I was so close to a bunch of the goals I had.
You
and
have millions of bells in the bank, and now you've got to go tarantula like farming again.
And like nobody I know is playing anymore, so like the stock market is way harder to like manipulate, like all that, you know. I don't know. I'm gonna see how I feel about this event. If this I can use this to kind of get myself back in, then we'll see. But
let's try and make on stream like a Mario course. Like let's try and do like a Mushroom Kingdom course, a game with the warp pipes and stuff, and see if we can actually do something with it. And maybe that'll be enough to get us incentivized to play the game again. I mean, I don't know. I put like what 200 hours into that game, 300 hours maybe.
Yeah.
Like I put a lot of time in last year when we had nothing else. So I'm kind of happy with where I left it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's my thing too, is like I don't feel like I didn't get my money's worth. I don't feel like I didn't have the experience I wanted. I just know I want to feel the way I felt about it when it was new again, and I don't know that that's possible. You know?
Yeah.
That's okay, though.
So there was one more other first-party announcement, which was Miitopia coming to Switch.
The classic 3DS title.
Yeah, no one saw this one coming. Like, why does this exist?
I don't know. The one thing about it that I was like, okay, is like it is a 3DS game, so like maybe do we get other 3DS games to come to Switch now, because there are other better
maybe
3DS
WarioWare?
games. Yeah, or like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, like those are great ports.
Yeah, maybe the Mario Party collection. I'd be happy with that. The mini games.
Oh my god, yes, I would love that. Yes, I don't know.
99 solid mini games to play rather than the feeble collection of like 30 they put in Super Mario Party.
Yeah, it's such a disappointment. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't care about that news. I don't know who that's for. I don't know why they're porting it. I don't see that game doing much. But like maybe it is the sign of more,
like,
you know.
They port in the engine, so it's like this is a technical thing.
Maybe
it's like we've done it for this, so why not?
Yeah, that it kind
it's
of
like
like
a reason to do it, like a financial incentive.
Right. Yeah. Like it, because it could maybe like there is some reason that like that engine, that game is simple enough that if you do that first, you have the technology in place and makes it easier to get other games over or whatever. You might as well spend the money and put it out. I don't know. It's a weird one. But I don't really have anything else to say about it. Honestly, I think there was one other big thing that isn't like necessarily a first party announcement, but it is obviously like a big Nintendo announcement, and that is the reveal of Project Triangle Strategy, which is the next game from they called it the HD 2D series. So like obviously, Octopath Traveler is like kind of the big example of that. And similar to that, this is like a working title. It's, not a direct successor, but obviously very, very similar in art style. And, rather than being like a standard turn-based thing, it's like a tactical RPG. It's a little bit more like Fire Emblem. So I don't know, like the story and everything of these games is whatever, but like the gameplay of this looked really interesting to me, and I like the aesthetic. You said this one just did nothing for you, right?
It's the stories. They were so obtuse, and they're like reading it out as if it's like it's really interesting, intriguing. Oh my god, fantasy, and it's just like I don't care. This is so generic and boring.
Yeah,
it's like every other JRPG story ever. I don't care. But having said that, it looked visually gorgeous. I think even better than Octopath Traveler did.
Yeah,
the lighting and the fire effects. It just looks stunning.
I think they've like perfected the style.
They really have. And the whole weighting stuff, like, you make one choice, it like moved the scales in a specific way and like weighted choices in a specific way. So, you may be able to do this now, but it might have an effect later, or you have to make the choice as to whether you want to leave this person behind, that kind of thing. And I know you said that was a thing that you really like in video games, and I know it's a huge part of Mass Effect, and
right.
Those choices ultimately take them all the way through to the third game. I like that kind of thing here too. I liked it on Heavy Rain, which in hindsight is a terrible game, but I did like Heavy Rain at the time.
Yeah. I think I guess my pause with that is it does speak to what you just said though, right? Of like that is a thing and then that's cool, but if the story isn't good, do you care about the choices that you're making?
Yes, that's the problem. Yeah.
And then right, like
whereas, we've got a game coming up that we're both excited for, Disco Elysium, that you have to make these kind of choices and you have to do this kind of stuff that I know I'm going to care about a lot more than this, especially now there's voice acting in the game.
Right. And like you said,
I'm more excited about that than this thing.
Mass Effect's also like a month away. So, I don't know. Like what we saw here, I liked. And like goofy naming conventions and all that stuff aside, like the core of it, the gameplay and the presentation and all that, it really struck a chord with me. So like, I am hopeful that I will connect with this game and that it will be more my cup of tea than Octopath was, because Octopath I liked in the beginning, but then when I had gotten to the 8th, you're doing the intro for this character again, and I was like, I don't want to play the intro of a game 8 times in a row. I want to continue the story and do something new. That just, I couldn't click with that, and this, doesn't seem like it's going to have that problem, so I want to like it.
I'm curious if this will be, I think the Octopath was published by Nintendo, right? Or at least it was.
It was,
outside of Japan. So I'm curious if this game will also be published by Nintendo, because Octopath was definitely kind of lukewarm reception. So I wonder if they're kind of done with it, because Square then published the game on other platforms at that point. It came to PC and Stadia. So I wonder if Project Triangle Tactical, whatever it was called.
I thought they
Project Triangle Strategy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wonder if Nintendo will publish this one. I don't think they announced that.
I think they probably will. I mean, unless they're like deciding to do a multi-plat release for this one out the gate, but I don't know. It's tough because like this whole studio, this whole initiative like exists to make this kind of game, and like there's a not insignificant financial risk associated with making a game like this. Like pixel art is expensive, and like I don't know how big the team is, but like I'm wondering if having Nintendo publish it and give them that upfront, investment to make it a platform exclusive thing is what helps make these games be financially viable.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Because Octopath came to PC later, right?
It did, and Stadia, and apparently there was a prequel that came in Japan in 2020. Octopath Traveler,
really?
Conquerors of the Continent, which we never got in the West.
That's really interesting.
So I wonder if that's currently going through a localization process.
Yeah, maybe.
Eventually come out. The thing I have the problem with is what Square seems to be doing with all their games, which is like, let's release this little snippet of like, we think we've got something.
And then like workshop it.
It's like not even half made. Here's a survey. Let us know what you think. And then we'll go away, thanks to your free games testing that you gave us, and we'll change things, because they've done it with Octopath, they've done it with Bravely Default now, gonna be doing it with Triangle Strategy, and it doesn't sit well with me. It's like, just hire a games testing department if that's what really what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, pay people to do your work for you, rather than just giving it to people for free and getting us to do it.
I feel like that kind of speaks to the thing I'm saying too about like the cost, where it's like, do they just not have a QA team? Like, what's going on? I don't know.
So strange.
Because Bravely Default 2 is a different team, but it's like, it is a very similar trajectory, and it is also a Nintendo exclusive, and I don't know. It's strange. Yeah. It's really strange that they've
very strange
elected to do this. It's weird that they like have these, like all of these internal studios that are making like these varying degrees of size of game, and like the process seems so radically different, Like, can you imagine if they did it with like Final Fantasy VII Remake? Like, they're like, oh, we put it's like here, it's like one level from it, like 12 months early, and is this any good? Tell us, like, I feel like you should be telling me that it's good, not asking me if it sucks. Like,
maybe they should have done that with that Avengers game that no one seemed to like.
Yeah,
like actually get a survey and figure out what people didn't like about it first. That may have been a little bit, maybe a title to do that with rather than this one. But who knows.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like, it is super weird that they do that, and that they've like made a habit out of it at this point. But I'm interested in this game. I am cautiously optimistic for it, and like it being this size of Square game means it'll either be excellent or extremely forgettable, and that's really kind of the two extremes that they seem to dance with these titles. So any other big announcements that you want to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, there was a fair few. I mean, I'm very excited about Fall Guys finally breaking free from PlayStation's hold and coming to another console. Very, very happy about that.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm hoping that it gives it another moment too.
Me too.
While we were watching Sierra Plus Ultra in the chat, who we'll be streaming with on Friday, go check it out. She was saying how like she was excited about it kind of getting another moment, and that like it kind of feels like it came and went, and then Among Us kind of came in and like stole its
Yeah, it got
thunder.
overshadowed by Among Us, didn't it? And I think the problem with that was Among Us remained free, whereas Fall Guys had like a free month on PS Plus, and everyone was hype about it then. I think it was free on the Epic Games Store as well. So
Yeah,
it had that initial bump, but then after that, it was like, do you want to make that investment in a game that you might not know and might not like? Whereas Among Us, you can download it for free, you can give it a try, even if your friends fall off or aren't on it. You haven't had that expense.
and like you made the case that like it was stuck on PlayStation, so like the only place you could play it on a console was on PlayStation, so like that does leave Switch users out in the cold, right? Like if it does come to Game Pass, that's another thing that could really like breathe more life into it.
Yeah, and it seems like a year. This is going to be a year on from its release. I would imagine it's coming around June time. I don't know if they said the announcement.
They just said
Of the
summer.
actual date. So yeah, it's around June time, which is when it released last year. So it seems like Sony maybe had a 12-month exclusivity deal. Hopefully it comes to Switch and also Xbox, and we have cross-platform play. It'd be really fun. I mean, this game feels like it fits on a Nintendo platform. It always has. It's got that cutesy vibe to it. It's fun violence without it being offensive.
Yeah.
It really does feel like a Mario-y kind of game. And I just love the idea of like a Takeshi's Castle video game. It's so cool. And I've wanted to try it for a long time. I just refuse to turn my PlayStation 4 on at this point because I just hate the thing. It drives me crazy every time I use it.
Need a PS5, bro.
I do. I tried getting one earlier today. They sold out in about a minute, so I gave up.
Okay, well, better luck next time. But yeah, I'm interested to see what this does for Fall Guys. I had a lot of fun with it when it came out, but I kind of bounced off of it like everyone else seemed to after a while. I do think it being on more platforms and being able to be cross-play and all that stuff like really does help breathe more life into it. But also, I don't, I think it being on PlayStation and being a free game really helped it kind of get going. So
yeah, most definitely.
I think
And
this
I
is
think that was the same thing for that it did for the
Rocket
Bug
League?
one.
Oh.
And Rocket League.
Yeah.
I mean, I forget Rocket League because it's owned by like the biggest games company in the world at this point, and
Yeah.
it's free. So I kind of forget that was paid.
That
for
it was
at
like
some
a
point.
plucky young game at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that will do a lot for it, and if it does have crossplay, which I don't see why it wouldn't either. Like crossplay for this game seems like it'll be easier to figure out than some of, like obviously with like
Yeah.
Fortnite and Apex, like FPS becomes a big issue and everything, and like this is like not a super labor intensive game, so I feel like it'll probably run better on Switch than some of these other titles.
I really hope so. And it seems like they're still adding content to this constantly. So I think this will be a day one pickup for me when it comes, because I was excited as soon as I saw it. The same for the next announcement, the Outer Wilds. I was excited that this was coming to Switch.
Yes.
I actually haven't played that game yet.
Me neither.
I know Danny. Danny is obsessed with that game and has been telling everyone since he played the game that everyone needs to check it out. But I never have. So at the moment, I've got it on Xbox because it's on Game Pass. I want to try it there, and if I really like it, it may be the one to try on Switch as well.
Now that I know it's on Game Pass, I think I'm gonna play it before it comes to
Yeah,
Switch.
that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's very much at home on Switch. I do agree with you there.
Yeah. I mean, there was a few other games that I was excited about. I was excited about the new Star Wars game, which I didn't see coming from Zynga of all places, back from the dead,
Yeah,
from
like,
Words
what?
with Friends. It's like, how are they still around? But a bounty hunting Star Wars game seems really cool. I could get down with that. It's kind of got a cyberpunky vibe looking at the logo. I think it's pretty fun. And I said to you on the stream, I'm very excited. EA just don't have this franchise in their grasp anymore
Yes.
and are just doing nothing with it. I mean, they would make one game every 3 years and wouldn't release it on every platform. The Switch has had the some old Star Wars games ported, but we've never had any of the new ones. And to have a brand new Star Wars game announced in a Nintendo Direct, I think is a big deal.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it coming off of the news of that Ubisoft game, and then Machine Games is doing the Indiana Jones thing. It's cool to see that the Lucasfilm games team is like starting to kind of experiment with who can play with that license and what other kinds of games we could get. So then, what was the name of that? I can't find it. That is it Knockout City? Was that the dodgeball game?
Yeah, Knockout City, the
That
new
looked fun.
game from Velan Studios. So this is one of EA's like 7 games they're bringing to the Switch. So Velan's only put out one other game. This is their second game, and the other game was the Mario RC Cars. That's what this studio is known for.
Cool.
So this studio has now developed Knockout City. Had the weirdest trailer though, didn't it? Like we had like an orc from
Like
WoW.
Warcraft, yeah.
There was like a guy from Call of Duty. There was clearly a chief from Halo in like the blue gear.
Yeah. And then like that like pixel art like princess character. Like it was very strange. And it was like all these like video game archetype characters like playing the actual game on Switch. It was weird, but it was clever.
All playing dodgeball by the looks of it.
I wish that it actually had all those art styles mixed. I thought that was a way cooler pitch. The idea that it's like, it's like the COD guy and a Chief ripoff and a Warcraft, and they're like all a pixel art character, and they're like, maybe they all have like slightly different abilities or whatever. Like, I was thinking it was going to be like a hero shooter, but with dodgeball, and that sounds way cooler to me in my head than what this game actually looks like, but it does look fun. The gameplay does look solid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping, because this comes out on May 21st, that this scratches that Splatoon itch until next year.
Yeah.
I mean, if not, I'm going back to Splatoon, because Ninjala got so close,
but
it was so infuriating at times, and it just didn't hit the mark, whereas this looks like it might be a little bit more refined. So I'm quite happy about that, and I'm interested in giving it a try.
The only other game I wanted to call out was Neon White. That was that one that was the first-person game where you're playing like an assassin in heaven and you're hunting demons, and it's like a first-person like deck builder or like they call it a card brawler. So it's like you're finding cards that give you the abilities that you can then use. So you're like cycling through abilities and. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily look like my kind of game, but it looks like a super creative game, like a really cool mashup of very disparate kind of genres.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would struggle to shoot people and not see a weapon and it just be a card. But I have faith in this publisher. I think they've never put out a bad game at this point.
It's Annapurna, right?
Yeah, they are solid. Like on a high. They just put that Annapurna physical collection out.
Yeah.
Which I'm so tempted by because I love all of their games. There was a couple of other games for me. That World's End Club game, which is there's 2 teams apparently that merged up to make that game, which was the team behind Danganronpa and also the Zero Escape games.
Okay.
And I loved the Zero Escape games. I've got the Nonary games collection for my dad on PS4, and we just sat there and we played through them. They're great games. They're like a little mini escape rooms with like a story and then like a little like twist to each like part of the story. And Danganronpa's just fucked up with some crazy shit.
Sure, yeah.
And
I
remember playing the first one of those on my Vita. And
Yeah,
to have that again. And you made the point of like it in combined with this cutesy art style.
It makes it
got this,
so
like, murder
creepy.
story. Yeah.
Very strange. Yeah.
So I'm interested in that. 100%.
Yeah, that one's cool too. That could be a cool one to stream maybe or something. But
yeah, and then I can't believe you didn't mention Powerpuff Girls the game. Like I thought we were really excited.
The DC Superhero Girls game that looked like it was from like 2005. I think it was Sierra said it was giving her like 2005 era like Nick.com games, and somebody said it looked like I think it was Wakahula said it looked like a unreleased Wii title, and like that's 100% the vibe. Like it's just very low quality poly like character models and stuff. I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know about all that. That looks like those like budget ass 3DS games that used to come out all the time, you know? It's like, oh, you want to play Olaf's Frozen Adventure? Like, no.
I don't know if you have them here, have them in America, but here, like, if you've got like a satellite box, they'll include these shitty little flash games on the satellite box, and they're like the most unresponsive things. Like, you would play like Tetris with like your IR TV remote. It looks like some kind of shit you would get on that. Like, you'd like press the buttons and it would like tell you the next piece of the story.
So, any other announcements you wanted to touch on? That's kind of it for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it for me. The only other thing was the tales from Borderlands. That was the only other thing that kind of really stood out a little bit.
That's cool.
I also did want to touch on the Capcom Arcade Stadium. The fact that the one game anyone cares about, Goblins and Ghouls, you have to pay extra for. And it's such a trashy move.
Love it.
It's like, thanks so much.
It's such a dick move, yeah.
I'm not going anywhere near that with a barge pole, because that is such a dick move.
Yeah, fair to say. All right, yeah, so thank you everybody for tuning in for this Nintendo Direct Debrief podcast special. We will be doing the show proper. If this is your first time joining us, of course, the PotsCast is a weekly Nintendo and gaming podcast. It comes out every Monday, and we talk about the week's news, what we're playing. Sometimes a main topic. This month we've been doing like a special Ring Fit February thing where we've been playing Ring Fit every day for a month and talking about that with our pal Chewy Plays Nintendo. So if you are joining us for the first time, if you stumbled across this video somehow, I hope you'll give the channel a like and a subscribe and tune in for our next episode when it drops on Monday, and we'll be talking about everything else that went on in the world of Nintendo and gaming this week. If you are a regular listener, of course, we appreciate your support. If you were one of the people who tuned in and caught this live, thank you so much. Something we're definitely looking to try out again in the future. So if you guys liked watching it live, let us know. And then, of course, just go support the show in all the ways that I would normally tell you to do, right? Like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell, follow at LootPots wherever you get your social media. Head over to the Patreon, where for just $1, you'll be able to get After Dark, which is our extra podcast. Helps us keep the mics rolling. You get a little bit of extra show in your life. It's a good time. We talk about non-gaming stuff, so it's just a lot of fun. And then, of course, if you're not on the Twitch, if you are watching the VOD, every Thursday, twitch.tv/LootPots, we are live playing something. And then this Friday, we're actually doing an extra stream over on Sierra Plus Ultra's channel, where we'll be playing Super Mario 3D World and then raiding over to our channel later. So I hope you'll come check out all that stuff. Come be a part of it. Come join the Discord. Yeah. That's all the shilling for this time. It's weird. It's not a normal episode, so my whole rhythm's a little bit off, but I think I got it all. So with that, we'll catch you next Monday for the proper episode of the PotsCast. Thank you so much for joining us.